You are just a glorified maid. Nobody loves you. That was the text my sister Mia sent me at midnight. 3 hours later, my mother was screaming into my ear. Evelyn, send $48,500 right now. Mia's appendix ruptured. They won't operate without cash. I looked at the clock. It was 3:18 in the morning. I am an ER nurse. I know the law. Hospitals in the United States cannot refuse life-saving surgery just because you cannot pay. They treat you first and bill you later. Always. This was not a medical emergency. It was a sloppy robbery. I sat on the edge of my bed, the phone screen glowing in the dark room. My finger hovered over the callback button. This was the moment where the old Evelyn would have crumbled. The old Evelyn would have sobbed, begged, and maxed out her credit cards just to hear her mother say, "Good girl." But the old Evelyn died the moment she realized her sister's appendix was just a pawn in a con game. I hit call. Veronica picked up on the first ring. Evelyn? Did you send it? I am trying, I said, pitching my voice up, injecting a tremor of panic I did not feel. The banking app is locking me out. It will not let me move that much cash to a personal checking account. It is flagging it for fraud protection. Well, call them. Override it. Her voice was jagged, desperate. Not the desperation of a grieving mother, but the desperation of an addict needing a fix. I can't. It is 3:30 in the morning. The fraud department does not open until 8. I took a breath, making it sound shaky. Mom, listen. I can wire it directly to the hospital's billing department. My bank allows emergency medical transfers 24/7 if I have the specific provider codes. It bypasses the hold. Okay, she breathed. Okay, do that. Just send it. I need the details. Exact details. If I get one number wrong, the wire bounces and Mia does not get surgery. I let a sob escape. It was a good performance. I need you to hang up. Go ask the doctor for his full name, his medical license number, and the CPT billing code for an appendectomy. Then call me back and leave it in a voicemail. Do not text it. The bank needs a voice verification for the wire. Why can't I just tell you now? Because the bank needs the recording, I shouted, channeling every ounce of fake hysteria I could muster. Do you want the money or not? Okay. Okay. I am going to the nurse's station now. I will call you right back. The line went dead. I lowered the phone and stared at the wall. My hand was steady. My breathing was calm. People ask me how I can be so cold. How I can calculate a legal trap while my mother is screaming about my dying sister. They do not understand the triage mindset. In the ER, we categorize patients by color tags. Black is dead. Red is critical. Green is walking wounded. You do not waste tears on the black tags. You save the reds. But sometimes, you get a patient who comes in screaming in agony, thrashing, demanding morphine, claiming their pain is a 10 out of 10. But their heart rate is 60. Their skin is dry. Their pupils are normal. You do not hate them. You do not judge them. You diagnose them. My family was not a code red. They were not dying. They were a malignancy. A tumor that had wrapped itself around my finances and my self-worth for 30 years. You do not negotiate with cancer. You do not try to love cancer into remission. You cut it out. Tonight was the biopsy. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A voicemail notification. I did not listen to it immediately. I walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and drank it standing up. The silence in my apartment felt heavy, like the air before a thunderstorm. I pressed play. Evelyn. It is Mom. I got the info. Her voice was breathless, theatrical. It is Dr. Anthony Mitchell. At Mercy General. He says the billing code for the emergency appendectomy is... Wait, let me read it. 44970. Send the $48,000 to the account I texted you earlier. Please hurry. She is in so much pain. I saved the file. Then I emailed a copy to my secure cloud storage. Wire fraud is a federal crime. Attempting to obtain money under false pretenses across state lines, or even just using telecommunications infrastructure, is a felony. By leaving that voicemail, explicitly stating a fake doctor and a fake procedure to solicit a specific amount of money, Veronica had not just told a lie. She had handed me a loaded gun. The billing code she read is real. It is for a laparoscopic appendectomy. She had searched for it online. She put effort into the con. She put more effort into stealing my life savings than she ever put into raising me. I looked at the time. 3:45 in the morning. I went to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face. The woman in the mirror looked tired, pale, but her eyes were sharp, flinty. I walked to the closet and pulled out my scrubs, navy blue, crisp. I put them on, tying the drawstring tight. Then I clipped my ID badge to my chest. It felt like putting on armor. They wanted a nurse? They were going to get one. I grabbed my keys and headed out the door. I was not going to work. I was going to the hospital they claimed to be at. It was time to verify the patient count. I started the car. The engine hummed to life, vibrating against my palms on the freezing steering wheel. Chicago at 4 in the morning is a ghost town. The streets were empty, slick with black ice and salt. As I merged onto the highway, the number kept cycling through my head. 48,500. It was not a surgical estimate. Medical bills are messy. They end in cents. They have odd, calculated totals. But 48,500? That is a settlement. That is a balloon payment. That is a pay us by Friday. Or we break your legs number. I knew exactly what it was. 3 weeks ago, I stopped by my parents' house to drop off Mom's blood pressure meds paid for by me, of course. Mia was there, screaming into her phone in the kitchen. She slammed the door when she saw me. But she was not fast enough. I saw the stack of envelopes on the counter. Red letters. Final notice. American Express Platinum. Mia had spent the last 6 months building her brand in Dubai and Tulum. First-class flights, 5-star villas, designer bikinis that cost more than my rent. She posted photos of champagne towers and captioned them blessed. Mom called it investing in Mia's future. I called it delusion. The math was simple. Mia had maxed out the cards to play rich, the bills had come due, and the minimum payments had ballooned into a lump sum demand. They were not trying to save Mia's appendix. They were trying to save her credit score. I took the exit for Mercy General, the tires crunching over the snow. It used to burn me up inside. The inequity of it. I remember sitting at the kitchen table when I was 16, studying for AP Bio until my eyes blurred. Mia was 12, crying because she wanted a designer prom dress for a dance she was not even old enough to attend. I watched Veronica stroke Mia's hair, cooing at her, promising her they would find the money. Then Mom looked at me. Her eyes were dry. Pragmatic. You do not need things like that, Evie, she said, cutting a coupon. You are practical. You are the strong one. You are built like a cart horse. You can carry the load. Mia, she is a show pony. She needs special handling, or she breaks. A cart horse. A beast of burden. Something you feed just enough to keep it working. But you do not love it. You do not braid its hair. You yoke it. For years, that memory sat in my gut like swallowed glass. I worked double shifts. I paid off my student loans. I bought a condo. I saved. I thought if I just worked hard enough, if I carried enough weight, eventually they would look at me and see a daughter instead of a utility. But you do not thank a utility. You just kick it when it stops working. I pulled into the hospital parking garage. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting long, sickly shadows. Tonight, the cart horse was done pulling. They wanted the money? They wanted me to save the show pony from the glue factory one more time? I parked the car in a spot reserved for staff. I killed the engine. The silence rushed back in, heavy and cold. I was not here to pay a bill. I was here to get the official time of death on my family. I grabbed my bag and stepped out into the cold. I walked toward the emergency room doors, the automatic glass sliding open to welcome me. The smell hit me, first antiseptic, floor wax, and old coffee. The smell of my life. Time to go to work. The sliding doors hissed shut behind me, sealing out the winter air. The triage desk was quiet. A lull before the Friday night rush. I walked straight to the patient information window. Checking on a patient, I said, keeping my voice professional. Mia Henderson. She would have been admitted through the ER about 2 hours ago. Possible abdominal surgery. The clerk typed, the rhythmic clacking echoing in the empty lobby. She frowned. Stopped. Typed again. I am sorry, ma'am. I have no record of a Mia Henderson being admitted today. Or yesterday. Check the trauma log. Maybe she has not been bedded yet. I did. The board is clear. We have not had an acute abdomen come in all night. I nodded. It was not a surprise. It was a confirmation. The lab results were in. The patient was not sick. The patient was a liar. Thank you. I walked back out to the parking garage. The cold hit my face, sharp and grounding. Now for the localization. I pulled my phone out. 3 years ago, Veronica had forced the entire family to install a location tracking app. She claimed it was for safety, so we could find each other in an emergency. In reality, it was a leash. She wanted to know if I was at work, if I was at a bar, if I was spending money I should be giving to them. But Veronica is a narcissist, and narcissists have a blind spot. They assume they are the only ones watching. She never realized the share location setting works both ways. She thinks she is the surveillance camera. She forgot she is also the footage. I opened the app. 2 blue dots pulsed on the map. They were not at Mercy General. They were not at home grieving. They were downtown, at the corner of Rush and Walton. I zoomed in. The dot hovered directly over the prime rib vault. A $60 a steak establishment. The kind of place you go to burn money. I got back in my car. The drive took 20 minutes. I did not listen to music. I listened to the hum of the tires and the silence of my phone. I pulled up across the street from the restaurant. The front window was floor-to-ceiling glass, designed to let the people inside be seen, to let them show off. And there they were. Booth 4. Best seat in the house. Mia was laughing. She threw her head back, her mouth open, a glass of red wine in her hand. She looked radiant. Not a trace of pain. Not a grimace. Just the flush of expensive alcohol and relief. Veronica was cutting into a steak the size of a brick. Gary was pouring more wine. They were celebrating. They were not just eating dinner. They were spending my money. They were pre-spending the $48,000 they thought was hitting their account any minute. I watched them through the windshield, my hands resting loosely on the steering wheel. This is the moment where most people would storm in. They would scream, flip the table, demand answers. But I was not looking at a family anymore. I was looking at a parasitic organism, feeding on a host. Veronica said something to Mia, gesturing with her fork. I could not hear the words, but I knew the cadence. I could read the entitlement in the set of her jaw. She can afford it. She has no kids. She owes us. It hit me then, a realization colder than the wind outside. This is the economics of abuse. Veronica did not hate me. Hate implies passion. Hate implies that I am a person capable of hurting her feelings. I was not a person to her. I was an appliance. I was a toaster. I was a water heater. You do not love a water heater. You do not ask a water heater about its day. You just expect hot water when you turn the tap. And when the water runs cold, you do not grieve. You do not reflect on your relationship. You kick it. You curse it. You try to force it to work. That is what the phone call was. That is what the fake surgery was. It was them kicking the machine because it stopped dispensing cash. They dehumanized me to justify the theft. If I am just a resource, stealing from me isn't a crime. It is harvesting. I watched Mia raise her glass for a toast. They clinked crystal. Enjoy the meal, Mia. It is the last one I am ever buying you. I put the car in gear. I did not drive toward them. I drove toward the bank. I wasn't going to make a scene. I was going to make an incision. I drove 6 blocks south to First National Bank. It was 4:45 in the morning. The lobby was dark, the ATMs glowing like nightlights in the vestibule. I dialed Sarah. She is the branch manager. 2 years ago, her husband came into my ER with a dissected aorta. I caught it when the resident missed it. I expedited the scan, got him to surgery in 11 minutes, and saved his life. Sarah told me then that if I ever needed to bury a body or move $1 million, she was the call. She picked up on the second ring, voice thick with sleep. Evie? Is everything okay? I need a conference room, I said. And I need a notary. Right now. I am putting on my shoes. Meet me at the side door in 20. I parked in the empty lot and waited. The sky was turning a bruised purple over Lake Michigan. When Sarah arrived, she did not ask questions. She unlocked the heavy glass side door and disarmed the alarm. The bank was silent, smelling of carpet cleaner and money. We walked into the main conference room, a glass fishbowl in the center of the lobby. I need a template, I said, sitting at the mahogany table. Not a standard banking form. I need the boilerplate you use when you fire an executive for cause. Release of claims and termination of relationship agreement. Sarah blinked, then walked to her file cabinet. She slid a document across the table. Mutual release and settlement agreement. It was perfect. Dense. Intimidating. Final. I took a black pen and started filling in the blanks. Party A, Evelyn Henderson. Party B, Veronica Henderson. Gary Henderson. Mia Henderson. Consideration, $5,000. I was not paying $48,000. I was paying enough to keep Mia out of collections for 30 days. Just enough to make them sign. The contract included a permanent no-contact order, forfeiture of parental rights, and liquidated damages of $100,000 for any breach. It was blunt. Not elegant, but to people like my parents, it looked like a death sentence. Sarah notarized it. Then I texted them to meet me at the bank with their IDs, claiming a fraud alert blocked the wire. They replied instantly, grateful, smug. To them, I was not a daughter. I was a payout. In the glass conference room, they arrived, smelling not of hospitals, but of steak, garlic butter, and expensive wine. Veronica lunged for the envelope. I stopped her. I produced hospital rosters and admission logs. No doctor. No surgery. No Mia. Then the credit report. An Amex debt from Dubai, $48,000 due that morning. I played Veronica's voicemail. I told them what it was. Interstate wire fraud. A felony. She collapsed into sobs. Mia snarled. Gary tried intimidation. It failed. I slid the contract across the table. Sign it and get $5,000 1 month's breathing room. Refuse. And I called prosecutors. They signed. Sarah stamped it. Mia took the check. They left. Already arguing in the parking lot. I walked into sunrise lighter than I had in 32 years. 12 months later, in my new apartment, I painted watercolors and ignored a message about my mother's ambulance ride. I deleted it. I had already buried them at that bank table. Sometimes survival means firing your own family.